All right, so why am I planting more tomatoes, you ask? We've learned a hard lesson. All right, guys, good morning. We're out in the greenhouse, and I wanted to show you what we've learned here. We had all of our tomato plants and pepper plants out here in the greenhouse. We had them all on these racks right here, and a couple tables back here behind the camera, and we had some cold weather. And out in the greenhouse, we thought, okay, so it warms up in here during the day. We should have enough carryover heat overnight to make our plants all right. We also took the precaution of covering all of our plants with freeze cloth, and we had also sprayed all of these plants that were out here with sea mist, which is supposed to allow them to withstand colder temperatures. Between all of those things, the tomato plants, for the most part, just didn't survive. So you can see all of these, the tops of these are just crispy. These poor little tomato plants that were so beautiful have just, the frost damage is unbelievable. So they just didn't do well. So we had thought that our last frost date for us is usually around March 15th. We knew that we were getting them out in the greenhouse a little bit early, but because of the extra protective measures we had taken and we'd had really warm days, our soil temperatures were pretty good in the mid-60s. We thought that they would do okay out here, but they just didn't. So we'll go inside and look at those in just a minute. But first, we also had some that were planted in the ground. These are standard greenhouse tomatoes, and just last night overnight when I came out, this row, everything was still looking pretty good, and after we watered them this morning, they've looked worse. The ones in the next row over, right here, these guys were all just totally, they're just mush. So why, one row over, exact same thing, covered with the agribon at night, heated by the greenhouse, and in the ground, one row is still doing okay, and another row didn't survive at all. They're just dead as doornails. So, but let's go into, we've moved all of the plants back into our garage on our shelves with all of the heat mats and keeping them much warmer to see if we could revive the tomatoes, to see what would come back, what would survive, and we'll have to go through those. But let's go in there and I'll show you what's happening. So after realizing that the temperatures outside had gotten so cold and these plants weren't doing well in the greenhouse, even though we had taken protective measures out there, we decided just to move them all back in here on our shelves on the heat mats under the lights to see if we could revive any of them, if they'll come back. And some of them will, some of them won't. But the ones that we've moved back in here, you can see there are some of these guys, they're probably just not going to recover. A lot of these, the leaves are just totally, they've been frozen and thawed out, so they just are not going to recover. We're going to have to go through these and find the ones that will recover and maybe continue to use those. So like this one right here has only a little bit of damage at the top, while some of these other ones are pretty far gone. So we're going to have to go through those and find what we can salvage and what we can't. We also had some of our pepper plants. Most of the pepper plants, believe it or not, actually survived the cold weather. We've had a few, like this guy here is totally done. This one's got a lot of damage. Some of them have minor damage, but some of them don't look like they've been affected at all. So I think we're going to be able to recover all of the pepper plants we need, but so many of the tomatoes are the worst damaged. Lots and lots of damage to these guys. So we have started reseeding those, and we'll get those all they're all reseeded. We'll get them planted. As soon as they're big enough, we'll transfer them or pot them up to this next stage or next size and try again. So if at first you don't succeed, try again. That's the lesson.